Hi, I'm Marge Robeson, registered dietitian with Pasonic Partners.
And I'm Louis Aguilar, chef at LCCAA Head Start.
And I am Melinda Gray, the food service manager at LCCAA Head Start.
We're so glad that you could join us for our out-of-the-box cooking series, where in this series, we're doing homemade favorites, and we're excited to be making homemade pizza. I think pizza is a universal favorite. I've met few people who don't like pizza. Have you ever made homemade pizza, Melinda?
In a former lifetime, I ran a pizza shop, so I've had my...
You're an expert.
Yes.
Very good. And what about you, Louis?
Yes, I've had my fair share of making pizza.
You like to make homemade pizza? Yeah. Nice. Well, I grew up in the country where there weren't easily accessible pizza shops. So we had homemade pizza was a staple. I don't think I had a restaurant pizza until I was much older. So we love pizza. I like making pizza now, do it quite frequently because as most of our recipes are, this is obviously a kid-friendly item. One of, I think, the most popular things that we serve at Head Start sometimes is pizza, right? And it's also very customizable as far as toppings. So you are going to get, of course, after watching this video, your box that's been packed, right? And so in your box, obviously you get the recipe and some other information about what's in the box. And then a lot of good things in this box. We have, flour that we're going to use to make the crust. I know one of the first steps is in making this pizza is doing the yeast, right, for the crust.
Developing your yeast.
Okay. And do you want to, because I got those ingredients out, do you want to show how to start the yeast in the water and then I'll unbox the rest of this?
So you take your 3/4 cup of warm water. And again, you want to make sure that this is not too cold and not too hot because it will kill your yeast. You want it just warm enough to touch. So what you want to do is add your water to your bowl. You'll want your yeast and your sugar. And your sugar is what's going to feed your yeast. So you pour that into your water along with your yeast. And then you give that a good stir. And then just sit it aside.
So that's activating the yeast.
It's going to activate. And what it's going to do is the yeast is going to feed off the sugar. Okay. And you just want to set it aside for about 5 minutes. And what you'll want to see is this will start foaming or bubbling, and it'll form a film right on the top, and that's what you're looking for. If you don't see that, and you see that it's slowly developing, just give it some time. It might take a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but usually 5 minutes is good.
So while we're letting that develop, let's look at what else will come in your box. Obviously, you can't have pizza without cheese. So we have cheese. We have various toppings. Again, you can customize as you want. You'll get onion, mushrooms, of course, pizza sauce is great, pepperoni in your box, basil. I love fresh basil on a pizza, really adds more flavor. Some olive oil. You will be getting a red onion that can go on pizza. And what else we have here? Fun things. One other tools.
It's an olive oil.
More olive oil that you might need. And then a nice pizza pan and pizza cutter so that you have that to make your pizza.
Yep. Basically everything necessary.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I know we already went ahead and started a yeast ahead of time that has already developed that 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to kind of explain that to them.
So once you see that film on the top, the bubbling, it's ready to go. Okay, now once our yeast is activated, what we'll do is with the flour that's included in your box, what we'll do is we'll take a cup of it and we'll add it to our bowl, our mixing bowl, with the salt that is provided, which is 1 teaspoon. So you want to do 1 cup of the flour, the salt, and make sure you incorporate that. Make sure you get that nice and incorporated before you add the yeast mixture. Once you got that incorporated, we have the olive oil, which is 1 tablespoon. You want to add this into your yeast mixture. Give it a little stir just to get that incorporated. We will slowly start adding into the flour. And then this is where some of the fun starts.
And so far, all the steps I see, I think kids could help with this
Yes.
for sure.
Yes, especially this part.
Uh-huh.
This mixing part is, I think, one of the funnest ones for the kids.
It's part of doing pizza
Yeah.
by your hands.
Yeah.
You're just incorporating
So,
all that.
Yeah, what you'll want to do is incorporate this liquid into this little bit of flour at first. Just get it saturated before you start adding your second cup. So once you have about that consistency, still
Sticky.
mushy to the taste, yeah. What you want to do is start adding slowly, incorporating the rest of your flour, which is another cup. So 2 cups total, and slowly adding. So the texture you're looking for is for it not to be, basically, if you're using a spoon, you don't want it to stick to your spoon. In my case, my fingers. I don't want it to stick to my fingers.
And it's pretty much going to take the full 2 cups
Yes.
of flour.
Yes.
Okay.
After quite a bit of incorporating the flour, you'll see that we have our dough, not as tacky as before. And then this is the part where we will need to knead the dough for about 5 minutes. And all you want to do is just take a little bit of flour, and I have some on there, and prepare your work surface,
So you're just kind of folding it over
folding
each.
it over, and just working the dough in. And then this is what builds gluten. This will develop gluten, which is what gives this dough the elasticity. So this that's happening now is what we're developing, which is gluten, the protein.
And you're
want
heating
this-
it with your heel, right? That's
Yeah,
why I remember the
yeah.
technique of kneading is using the heel of your hand and just kind of pushing it.
pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling.
And you do that for like 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes.
And how do you know when it's done?
So you can feel the elasticity in it. And what you'll want to do is once it's elastic like this and you worked it for 5 minutes, this will double in size. What you want to find is that you want to feel it out for that it's not coming apart as easy as just, you see how it has a little bit of play?
Okay.
So that's what you want to just keep working. All right, now once we're done kneading the dough and it's ready for it to rise, what we'll do is we'll take a bowl, place our dough inside of it, and then take a little bit of olive oil and just coat that dough. So a little bit of olive oil, and then what I'll do is I'll just flip it around like this, and you want a nice little coating. This will help it from sticking to. We're gonna cover it loosely, and then you'll want to proof it, which means you want to let it sit and double in size. You let that yeast do its thing, and you could set it in a warm spot. Sometimes what I'll do at home is put it in the oven with it off. Oven off in the oven for about an hour or until it doubles. If you want to use it the next day, you can do it. You can do the same process in your refrigerator. You just need about 18 to 24 hours, and it'll double in size. And then you're ready to use dough.
So pizza does take a little bit of planning ahead. It's not
little
like
bit of
you make it
patience.
and you go and cook it right away. You either have to wait about an hour for the dough to rise or
Or
overnight. Make the dough today for tomorrow. Okay, great. And I think you already have then a dough that you've let process overnight.
Yes, this one has. I
Look
use
at the difference.
technique for it in the refrigerator, and you can see that it's definitely double in size. This is what you're looking for right here.
So the recipe makes one 12-inch
12-inch.
pizza.
So a couple tips on these pans. First is preheat your oven, 475 or higher. What I will suggest is make sure that there's no debris in your oven, because that's one of the highest settings on home ovens, and anything in there will start to burn. The one key thing is that if you do use the refrigeration method, you want to let this sit out to reach its room temp again before you start working with it. So this one has been set out, it's at room temp. But look how easy this is, where all you have to do is just go around these edges,
Stretching
slowly,
it.
stretch it a little bit,
So you're not doing like the pizza.
You could.
Show us, Louis.
You could if you'd like. It's practice.
Okay.
Practice makes perfect.
You're just stretching it out to
yes.
cover the outside of the pan
And what
there.
you want to do is use this pan as a guide. Like I said, has been developed. It becomes stretchy. And then what you'll do is just push it out to the edge of the pan. That's all you're doing. So once we're there, just take my fingers and I start making that little
Little bit of a
divot
rim.
for the crust. And what this will also help, it'll keep that sauce within your crust.
And I think you're getting a full can of sauce in your box, but you wouldn't use this whole
You don't
can.
need- you don't
That would
need
be
the
way
whole-
too
yeah.
saucy. Now, what I would do, I wouldn't throw this away. What I would do is take this little bit of sauce that's left and put it in a freezer bag or a freezer container and save it so that when you want to make pizza again, you can pull the sauce out of the freezer and you don't have to go buy another can and you don't waste any. Getting the sauce
Getting the
on
sauce
there.
on. And what-
This is the fun part for me. You like
Yeah.
pushing out the crust. I like, excuse me, putting the toppings on.
What you'll want is with the back of the spoon, the ladle, whatever's more comfortable, just start working from the center out. All right, now that the pizza's all sauced, it's ready for our toppings. And what we'll start with is some cheese.
So again, you may not, if you're getting that amount of cheese, I don't know if you'll need all the cheese. You can add as much or as
Yeah,
little
as
cheese on it as you want. And then I believe the pepper and the onion, we've pre-chopped those. You'll be getting a whole pepper and onion, and likewise the mushrooms. Again, this is where you can customize. I like all pizza toppings, so you just kind of sprinkle all of those on.
And again, the liberty that you can take at home is cut these as big or as little as you'd like, especially if you have smaller children. Smaller cut might be better.
Nice.
So that's a good amount there. We'll do some onions.
And maybe for kids, you put them on part of the pizza.
yeah.
If you have other things at home too that you would want to add to your pizza, I leftover meatballs, I like fresh tomato on a pizza. So I might put that on. Again, whatever your preferred toppings are, you can just add those.
So we'll do that, some pepperoni. With the basil, you'll want to add this in at the end. Just because you don't want it to wilt in the oven and lose a lot of its composure or flavor profile. Our pizza is ready for baking.
And they have the oven preheated, you said 475.
475.
And we're going to put it in the oven.
Yes.
I smell a pizza that's done. Best part is the taste testing.
You're in time.
This is the time. Now, our last step, like I had said, any fresh herbs that you want to add, you might want to wait off to the end. Just a quick tip on how to cut your fresh basil. Find the biggest basil leaf. Take the smaller ones and just shingle them one inside the other. What you'll want to do is take the biggest one and just roll it up. Take your knife and then safely and carefully just go down cutting little thin strips. And this is what's known as a chiffonade. What you'll end up with is these little strips of basil while it still retains its shape. And then take this and we'll sprinkle it as liberally as we want on our pizza.
I can't wait to taste it. Do you want to cut it? You're going to, of course, in your box, get the pizza cutter.
Carefully, what you'll want to do is firmly press in and go across. And once it comes out of the oven, let your pizza rest for a couple minutes just to let that cheese kind of settle. And that way, even when you're eating it, it's not coming all apart when you cut, which is what's happening now. It's kind of keeping its place. And if you're like not as good like I am and not cutting, I'll just go up to the middle right here and stop. And now the best part.
Do we all get to try,
Yeah.
Linda? A piece of pizza. Very good. Bon appetit. Very good. Very good. I think your families are going to like this pizza. It's fun to make, easy to make, certainly healthier than a frozen pizza or calling the local pizza shop. That's fun too, once in a while, but a good homemade pizza. We're glad that you could join us, and please tune in for another time of our Out of the Box cooking series.